Namaste. Welcome to Srikaram channel. We are doing Jnana Yoga chapter 4 in Bhagavad Gita. In my previous video, I was talking about castes, professions and actions. Karma Yoga as mentioned by Krishna. What is karma? Is just action. So how we act on what profession is your own inclination. Why we want to become a warrior? Because we are inclined towards that profession, or a businessman because we are inclined towards that particular profession, and there is nothing wrong in that. Identifying ourselves with our actions is a very limited understanding. So for example, there is a ring. This is made of gold. If you give this to a goldsmith, he can melt it and make an earring or anything else, or nose ring. It is the same gold which can be modified into another form. But once it is in one form, it cannot be worn as a chain. Similarly, when you are doing one task, just focusing on that task without multitasking, just focusing on that profession is good. When you are like Lord Krishna was doing the milking of the cows, and he is a kingmaker, he is a warrior. See how many, whichever role you are doing, just giving justice to that role is what I am trying to convey here. Again, like Bhima was also a great cook, great chef, and also he is a warrior. We can excel in multiple fields. It is, we need not label ourselves with what we do, or our actions, or we cannot take complete credit of I acted, I did it. This is a this is an obstacle for growth towards the light, towards the lighter being of ourselves. Okay, now there is inner space. The lungs have space. For example, I'm just taking an example. Our lungs have some space, and then you breathe different air at different places. You go to park, that air is different, that fills the lungs. And you go to mountain peaks, that space is different. You go to a factory, that air is different, which fills the lungs. But this space is the same inside our lungs. I hope I'm going right. It is the same thing, something which is always the same, but something is changing. Similarly, we were a student in the childhood, and then we are something when we are adolescent, and then you become something else, and you become an officer or a senior officer or a director at different ages of our life. But something is the same in us, that doesn't change. Many people, you ask them, you are aging, then they say, I don't feel it unless until you mentioned that I'm aging, I don't even remember it. Age is just a number. We don't see, because people, human beings are connected to that something which doesn't change, which is non-changing, which is stable, and everything else is changing. That is the perception of the self. Whenever the self is perceiving, of course the self is the only thing which is perceiving and experiencing the whole drama around us, but those words come when that person is speaking through the space of the self. Houses, another example I would like to give. There are so many buildings which get constructed, and then they dismantle it, and then they build new buildings, but it is the same space, right? What is changing? The building, the structure, the pillar is changing, but the whole thing, the space is the same. I hope I can make sense. The wise one, the Gnana Yoga, is that understanding the impermanence of the of the changing things and understanding what is the permanent thing and taking refuge in that deep corner of unchanging thing within us. You may say, argue that this is not possible for us. This is possible for somebody, a monk in Himalayas. We are all working people. How is it all possible for us? We have to do our professions. This kind of knowledge doesn't imply to us. No, there is a chance that you can still excel in your profession and rest deep within that space. I'll tell you in my next video how to do it. Stay tuned. Namaste.